What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another game day update. Tonight, the Grizzlies will take on the Timberwolves for game 5 here at FedExForum. Joining me in the beautiful Memphis sun is Lea B. Olsen. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Good to be here in Memphis.
All right. So this is not the first time that you've been in Memphis. Obviously, this is game 5 now. It is tied 2-2. And I would like to start on some of the things that have been happening. I'm going to say kind of off the court. Coach Jenkins got fined 15 grand yesterday for the public criticism of the officials. And then Pat Bev came back and was like, relax. What's kind of the vibe in terms of that? Because it sounded like Pat Vibe was kind of telling everyone they're fine. Everyone's been fine on their end.
Yeah, I think the officiating piece is key and critical in this series, obviously. And I think so much of it is just the nature of how these two teams match up and how physical it's going to be. And I don't think there really is another matchup right now that is as physical as the one that we're watching. So that obviously is going to lead to more fouls and more probably criticisms of the officials. And so I think for the Timberwolves, at least, it's been about trying to control things you can control, right? That's the message you keep hearing over and over with them. And so trying to stay out of that fray a little bit. But as we know, the officials can rattle us too. So I think that's going to be probably a pretty big key for tonight's game.
Yeah, and I'd say on the flip side for the Grizzlies, the key in terms of that is being able to keep Jaren Jackson Jr. on the floor. He's averaging just over 10 points per game right now. And that's because he finds himself in early foul trouble 3 out of those 4 games. If he is able to come in game 5, maybe not get those offensive fouls that you don't like to see him have because you want him to be aggressive on the defensive end as that rim protector for the Grizzlies, how does that change the way the Timberwolves would be playing? Because now they're not going up against kind of like the backup bigs, they're going up against Jaren Jackson Jr., which is the hope for the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I think those matchups are critical. And I think that main matchup with Karl Anthony Towns is really the piece. And for us, that what we found is that when Cat's on the court and staying focused just on the game, I think he's a matchup problem really with anybody in the NBA. And so I do think with Jaren Jackson Jr., it's a great matchup. But for us, it really is that focus of like, we need Cat on the court at all times. We believe he's one of the best bigs in the league, and he can do it on both ends of the court. He's a rim protector, but then he stands out on the 3-point line and hits shots, and then he can attack. So kind of the same situation. Need him on the court, stay out of foul trouble, so he's able to do those things.
Yeah, and then on the guard side, we've got Desmond Bane, who's been just like almost saving this Grizzlies team on the offensive end, shooting the absolute lights out. And then, hey, this year's most improved player, Ja Morant, also this is so crazy because we were talking about it the other day, how Ja is still putting up numbers, like he's still averaging 26, 8, and 10 or something, just over 10, but he's not playing well. And so it's so interesting to come into game 5 where he just won this award. He actually gave it to Desmond Bane, but like, do you expect him to have those same numbers and just play better? And it's just like weird.
That has been interesting because I know I have heard, folks on the Grizzlies side saying, we're feeling like we haven't even played our best basketball yet. And even in the wins that you guys have gotten in this series, that probably still wasn't your best basketball. And I think with Ja, I think everyone knows who's watched him. He's one of the most electric players in the NBA. And even when he's not scoring a lot, like the last game, he's impacting the game at such a high level with his 15 assists. So I don't think the Timberwolves are ever thinking that you can fully stop Ja Morant. I think I think they're probably pretty pleased if you can turn him into a distributor rather than a scorer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, let's do this to end this off because we could go matchup to matchup, but this has been 4 straight games with this team. So, Lea, I'm going to ask you 2 things. We're going to start with, if you had to choose one player for the Minnesota Timberwolves that, like if they have a good game tonight, it sets up the Timberwolves to win. And let's take off like Cat's he's gonna have a good game. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
he's like the X factor for the Timberwolves tonight.
I'll give that then to D'Angelo Russell, because I think when D'Lo is big, he's so dangerous, and the way he hits shots, he's a momentum player and just hit big shots that just kind of changes the entire momentum of a game. And he's kind of sneaky with it and quiet. And as you know, everyone's focusing on Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Sometimes D'Lo's just sneaking in and doing his thing. And so I think he's probably that X factor we're looking for.
Yeah, I like that one too. We in the regular season called him a Grizz killer, so I can see him being that sneaky shooter. I like him. Okay, and then the other thing I'm going to ask you is like a stat, and I say this because usually like the Grizzlies, they were 47-0 before the last game, where they outshoot the other team, they pull out the W, or when they out rebound the other team, they pull out the W. What's a stat where, you know, if the Timberwolves are able to kind of dominate that one stat, it does help them again pull out game 5?
I'll say 3-point shooting. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. When in game 1, when we were able to hit 15 3-point shots, I'm pretty sure that's what we had in that one. That was the difference in that game. And the Wolves have been consistently good 3-point shooters in the regular season. And then we've seen it kind of ebb and flow in this series. So I think it's going to come down to which team is hot from the 3-point line.
All right. Easy as that. This is the 5th game in a row we get to face off against the Timberwolves. Tonight's game will tip off at 6:30. And if you are watching this, folks, get there early, because security is going to be tight for obvious reasons if you've been watching the series. So get there early. Let's have some fun tonight. Lea, thank you so very much for coming in and talking basketball with us.
Yeah, so fun to be here. Can't wait to hear that crowd tonight. You guys have some off the chain crowds.